All right, everyone, welcome back to Get in the Garage.
We're the music podcast.
For music lovers, our first new album review, joined here by special guest James Burke, is the new release by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. The title is a mouthful. Here it goes. PetroDragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of Eternal Night, Annihilation of Planet Earth, and the beginning of Merciless Damnation. This is the band's 24th studio album in the past 13 years. It is produced by band leader Stu McKenzie, who is the main vocalist, guitarist, songwriter of this band. This is King Gizzard back to like rip-roaring prog metal form. I loved this album. What did you guys think about it? How about some short thoughts on what your opinion was?
We reviewed like the 3 Giz albums from last year. You can go check those out. I like this one a lot more than Changes and the one before that. This metal side of them is something I really, really like. Really fast, hard-hitting dragons, wizards, superstorms. I'm all here for it. Would like a little more guitar solos maybe, but you know, that's okay. If we're getting in the metal side, that's where I'm at.
Okay. I also absolutely love this album. I think it's great. Anybody who is a listener of this podcast knows that sort of my kind of honing in on this band was definitely with Infest the Rat's Nest, which is very much in this vein, in the style, thrashy, metallic-y, crazy, you know, all that stuff. Doom and gloom, end of the world, giant lizards killing everybody. I love it.
Yeah, so I definitely was a bit surprised because I did not do any research other than seeing this album cover, which if you haven't, make sure to take a look at.
Excellent cover.
Yeah. You know, I'd not 100% familiar with this band's discography. Definitely pieced together things over the year. Know that they have a large catalog of a lot of different types of things. Changes was actually the first record that I did consistent listen to back to front and came back to. So a little bit when I sounded more like Slayer than a soul funky psychedelic thing that was a bit to adjust to. But yeah, that being said, like definitely had a lot of those old school, thrashy type of vibes that I like in the metal, and I like maybe a little bit more, Aeolian mode and some of the solos and things like that. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, so this album is 7 tracks. It is 49 minutes long. So each song is between like 5 and 9 minutes long. It is kind of like a lot of monotone, stacked, droney, like raspy vocals with this like sub-octave, like didgeridoo type of effect. This band is from Australia, so I assume the world music of Australia is a big part of their sound. A lot of crazy guitar acrobatics on this album. Like, if you've listened to Changes, for example, it's kind of like a Lucy jam bandy with some world music stuff. And on this album, they're doing like crazy tap 16th note guitar solos. It's a lot of like stuff's in 7/8, stuff's in 11/8. Things are in this like you can feel the beat, but good luck counting it out, like to figure out what's going on. You just kind of like ride the wave. Any album tracks that like stand out to you guys in particular? This kind of works as like a continuous full thing. Like each song kind of goes into the next song.
I really, really loved Gilly Monster, which I think is like the
Gila.
It like builds to like I feel like is the apex of the album where like it really comes together. I really like that song, but for the reason that the concept of this album is like a giant storm comes to the United States, witches summon this dragon monster, and then this song is the dragon.
This is the showdown.
Yes, the dragon eventually swallows the world in a flamethrower of oil, but the Gilia monster is just so much fun because it's like that metal thing. And they have a chorus, which like a lot of like King Gizzard songs like either kind of don't have a chorus or ride on the like the riff verse kind of thing. But this has like the chorus of them like singing like Gila Monster. It's so fun. And that's why, because it takes like metal and then puts like the catchiest chorus you've ever heard, and it's very great.
I really like the part of Gila Monster where the lyrics are written from the perspective of the monster, and it's sung in like a slightly different voice. And there's like a long verse about like how it destroys the world, and Yeah,
Yes, you bring. That's what also is like King Gizzard is. They kind of get away with this because their name is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and they can kind of like be tongue in cheek with what they want to, and like. This is the kind of like the album everyone that wants Metallica to kind of make, but they would never make because it's like too on the, but King Gizzard just ride that line with it. And yes, the verse from the Monsters' point of view, classic and something we should see more of in metal.
Yeah, I also love the Gila Monster track as well. There's a lot of like really interesting things. So I would say that like if you are a listener of Mastodon, you would like this record. If you're a listener of Tool, you would like this record. If you were a listener of this might be a weird one, early like 70s Scorpions, you might like this record too, because especially with Gila Monster, there is this like Uli John Roth style guitar solo. Anybody who knows the Scorpions or like the early Scorpions, there's like you can look it up on YouTube. It's like this dude, he's like shredding. He's like one of the original guitar players from Scorpions. But yeah, as well as like Luke said, like Metallica, I think Motor Spirit, the opening track for me, like really kind of drives home that sort of Mastodon-y Tool kind of flavor, because even when it begins, they have arrived, here's this new album, listen to it, blah, blah, blah. Immediately it's got this Mastodon kind of vibe feel. And then somewhere around the 4-minute mark on the track, it breaks into this sort of like Toolish, tribal-y sort of,
the drums,
like Eastern
the
tempo-y.
sound of ancient drumming.
The sound of ancient drums. It really is the sound of ancient drums. There's like that sort of, you said didgeridoo, which makes more sense to me, but my reference point was like the Buddhist Kyoto like throat singing monks that has that like like that sub octavey like sort of thing, and they're chanting motor spirit, like that kind of thing. I just think it's great because it gets thrashy when it needs to get thrashy. It gets like atmospheric and mysterious when it needs to get atmospheric and mysterious. It's they kind of throw a little bit of everything in there from all their influences. So yeah, Motor Spirit is probably my favorite track on the record.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say Converge was probably the track that I ended up like going back to the most, mostly because of the vocal in that one. I thought was particularly had some earwormy qualities, but definitely want to double down as like representing the non-metalhead caucus who owns some metal records and dabbles, puts my foot in the water. Like when I was young, Mastodon were one of those bands that kind of like, oh, okay, this is like groovy and vibey in a way that I can relate to through that like connection to like Blue Cheer, Deep Purple, type of thing. And so yeah, definitely like if you because we can get into this a little bit, the fact that this band is like so genre chameleon in the things that they do. If you're thinking that like, oh, that's not my type of vibe, definitely check it out, because that being said, if there was anything I could have like wanted more of is like, in the lead guitar to have, a few more, like some more tremolo or tape delay and a little bit more like, hit some of those 70s tropes of that aspect of, what my bread and butter on metal guitar, but really enjoyable listen overall.
That's how I kind of felt too. I wanted a little more of like that really like, this is the guitar solo and it's like long and like really like evident that it's the guitar solo. There was a lot of like, for me, like more shorter things that were like going in and maybe were like 4 bars or like, but nothing that was like a 16 bar, like this is a solo, like that kind of thing. There was a little bit on there, but I wanted like that more like, classic-y guitar solo. I feel you on that.
It has a lot of like 35-second long solos, and then there's a lot of like, if there is a minute of guitar, it's not really solo, it's like this instrumental lead section that's like this repetitive motif, and then it'll come in with another guitar to harmonize with it, and like then the tribal toms will come in. My favorite track of this album was the middle track. It's called Witchcraft. It's just like very crazy as far as like the feel and the timing of it, and that is like the album that sets up like the monster coming in for Gila Monster. It like ends with a monster roar at the end of Witchcraft, and then you have like the opus of the Gila Monster, Gila. I love how the album ends also. The song Flamethrower, which kind of started in this like 11/8 jazz metal fusion type thing, and then it goes into this like 7/8 thing the whole song, and then they bring back the beginning feel at the end, and it gets electronic. It goes into like electronic drums, and like keyboard now is taking the lead instead of the guitar. It ends with this like ratcheting up of like the pitch shifting up and all the oscillation getting strange. I love this album. I love this band. There's some misses from them because they put out so much material. But for me, this like immediately jumps into definitely the top 5 album by this band for me. And honestly, it might be like in top 3 because this is the one I've enjoyed the most since Infest the Rat Nest came out in 2019. So what did you guys think as far as a rating of this album? Can we hit us with a 1 through 10 rating? You can do 0.5s or 0.2s if you want.
Oh, yes.
You can go Pitchfork if
we,
you like.
We go on the we use the Pitchfork scale here. Before I go, I would also like to point out that this worked really well as a concept, I believe. It also shared lyrics in songs. The Dragon shares a verse with Way Down Here with... Sorry, Dragon shares one with Converge. They both have the same kind of lyric motifs going on. Really strong. Loved how they wrote the album around the story of the monster flamethrowing the earth to death. It really came together. It was really evident what they were doing. I'm going to go that this is a 8.5. I think it's 8.5. I really like this record. It's really solid. The songs are really great. If you're into metal, you'll love this. Really cool stuff. That's it.
8.5 from Luke. To piggyback on one thing that Luke had said too, I like the on this album particularly this sort of bookending idea where in Motor Spirit you have them chanting Motor Spirit, and at the end of Flamethrower you have them chanting Motor Spirit. So it very much has these two distinct beginning and end sort of
Bookends.
Bookends. Thank you very much. This I love this Supercell, crazy thrashy Dragon, cool proggy Steve Harris type bass thumping all over that thing. Flamethrower, great. I mean, every single one of these is great for me. This for me, man, it's a metal album. King Gizzard might not be a metal band, but this is a metal album, and for me, this is a 9. I loved this record. I thought this was fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, not to bring the mood in another direction, but
different opinions are
yeah,
always
they're welcome. They're very much welcome.
And real quick, I just wanted to touch on, so I mentioned, with this band's 24th album, I've been wanting to get more into these guys for a while, and just their level of output has kind of made that challenging because I'm like, where do I dig in? How do I start? And so, I'm glad that I got this opportunity to dig in. And that's going to, make me do it more. Just based on nothing wrong with the execution, simply stylistically, the fact that that's not my bread and butter as much. I'm going to go with a flat 7. But considering that a lot of classic metal albums that are probably other people's 10s would only be in the 8-ish book, world in my book.
Sure.
If thrashy, heavy, stony stuff is your vibe, definitely go. For me, it's a 7.
Right on, Jeffrey.
Loved it. I hope to listen to this many, many, many times this coming summer. This is a 9.5 for me.
Oh, 9.5.
I wanted to give it a perfect 10, but the song Converge, I was like, this song isn't bad, but it's not one I would personally go back to much. So 9.5 though.
So there you go. There you have it. What did you think? Was it good? Was it bad? Were we right? Were we wrong? Let us know in the comments below.